for joining. Welcome to our GP to BC community. We'll ask everyone to introduce first themselves, and we start with Chris.
Okay, I'm Chris Flood. I've implemented a variety of systems over my career, primarily Microsoft Dynamics GP for over 20 years. Been also on the side of an end user standpoint. So I've done implementation, training, support, migration, testing, sales, and now I'm trying to help companies gain operational efficiencies.
And then Richard.
Yeah, I'm Richard Terry. I'm a marketing systems administrator slash marketing manager. So I have this little split role at the company I work for. I've been at this firm for about 20 years, but my goal is just to help, is working with an old firm that's been set in their ways and trying to get them to adopt new change and go through the change process to a new system. So
Thank you, Richard. And Steve?
Hi, yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephen Moore. I've been in consulting for a while, for a number of years, a lot in the space of CPM, corporate performance management, implementations and migrations. And I've worked in a number of ERPs. I'm probably the most green when it comes to BC on this call. I have studied in it and practiced in it in my own environment, but I haven't had real world practical experience in it. So I'm always looking for opportunities to leverage what I've learned in other ERP usages as well as corporate performance management systems to understand more about Business Central and get involved in that. My background is a lot of business process improvement, data analysis, and Power BI work, Power BI implementations, and Tableau. So.
All right. Thank you, Steve. I met Steve at the Dynamics Doug Arizona meetup. I met Chris at Dynamics Con. Same with Richard. Yes. So again, welcome everyone to the GP to BC community. This is our pilot episode for customer story. I'm glad you're here today. So again, this is this community is dedicated to supporting Dynamics GP customers, partners, professionals as they explore and transition to Microsoft D365 Business Central. So whether you're still evaluating your options or already using Business Central, our goal is to create a space where you can learn, share experiences, and help each other succeed. So today, I'm honored to sit down with a special guest who has over 20 years of experience in the world of Dynamics ERP. And please join me in welcoming Chris Flood to the podcast. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, I'm
Glad
happy
to
you're
be
here. Okay, so Chris, how did you first get into ERP world? Yeah, I know it's 20 years, but you can cut it short.
Yeah, so I mean, I started out doing accounting right out of school. That's what I took. I thought I wanted to do that, and I quickly learned I didn't want to do the same exact thing every day, week, month. So I got into ERP when I worked for a company that made their own solution. They needed more people in support, so I started off in support, then got into consulting and implementations that way.
Okay, so for GP, what did you like most about GP?
It was pretty logical. It's proven. I can get data easily. There were a lot of reporting tools I can get data out of, whether financials through a management report, FRX, tools like Smart List or Smart List Builder. There was Excel-based reporting. You can control the batches through batch posting and edit lists and things of that sort. You can get a preview kind of before you posted it to make sure everything was good before you post it and found out you had to fix it. And the abilities and the functions they added about being able to reverse transactions pretty easily. After a while, they added that in there so you didn't have to reverse an entry that could potentially be quite large, and they help automate that for you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. How was your learning process and how was the journey?
It's kind of the same. I mean, I almost expected it to be like the other systems that I use, and since I use GP the most, I thought it would be similar. I learned that Business Central is actually based off of Nav. So I figured, okay, so there's going to be some differences there. And then it has a different name and it's cloud-based and it's in the direction that Microsoft's going. So I wanted to stay myself aligned with Microsoft and be able to help others. So I said, let me just kind of figure out how to use this tool and figure out how to do what I need to do, knowing there's going to be differences between the two. So I just had to figure it out. I use online tools, search engines, and AI tools, and other people I've worked with in the past throughout my personal network, and I leverage all that knowledge to help me get what I need.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's really exciting to learn something new. Chris, what were your first impressions of Business Central compared to GP?
I thought it was I liked the UI. I thought it was pretty
Mm,
cool. A lot of people now are going towards KPIs, metrics, charts. They don't want to see kind of the GP look and feels a bit not as current.
mhm,
And then I just kind of wondered, how long is it going to take me to find everything I'm used to doing a certain way in this new world? Because I'm sure it
mhm.
can be done. Microsoft's not going to make a new product sunset their existing when it's proven unless there's enhancements to it. So it's just a matter of how long is it going to take me to learn how to do all this stuff in a new environment.
Yes. So, Chris, can you share what are the reporting tools you use, the ISVs you use in Business Central?
In Business Central, we actually use Solver to do our financial statements. So we
Mm-hmm.
send all of our data from Business Central into a data warehouse, and then we do our financials that way. And that way we can schedule it out and get everybody what they need. In terms of ISVs or extensions, we don't have too many extensions right now. Our team, we use Power Automate for workflows, and we're actually going to do some enhancements to that to make it even more efficient than it is now and let it do a bit more for us and get rid of some of the, I guess, limitations that it was currently set up to do and make it work a bit more flexible for us.
I
So that's
see.
going to be fun. But yeah, so those are kind of the main ones that we're using. We're going to use a bank rec tool. We don't have it yet, but we're going to automate that process as well. So I'm going to put a lot more things in our environment to make it more automated, more efficient, and very much less manual.
I see.
Mhm.
So, Chris, can you tell more about how you use the solver? What pain points it addressed in your company?
Just there's limitation in terms of what can be extracted or viewed by the native reports that are in there. There's certain things you can get, right? There's certain information that actually is available that the team isn't or wasn't aware of when the implementation was done. And there's a certain
In
amount of
Business Central? In
in
Business
Business
Central?
Central,
Okay.
yeah. So in Solver, we said take everything, send it to a data warehouse, and then just pull the fields that you need, subtotal it however you want, group it however you want, schedule it to run on whatever frequency you deem appropriate for each person or team based on what they need, and then send the data back and forth between Business Central and Solver. We have it set up to run every hour. And
Mm,
then that way, all the reports, the oldest they are is 1 hour old at any point in time. They run at like 12, 1, 2, 3, etc. all day long.
I see. Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Uh,
So we're
can
doing
you,
that.
yeah, can you give a specific example of the report that user mostly use, or is it like in Excel? They download it in Excel, or they can view it on the web?
In Solver, they can run the report, they can generate it to PDF or Excel. Everyone in accounting loves to dump everything into Excel. And then they can do whatever they want with it because they're very familiar with Excel. And in
Yes.
anything else, they just want it in Excel so they can kind of further view it in different ways, have more flexibility there. So
Yeah.
there's multiple companies instead of doing all the consolidations in a way that they literally could use Solver for, they still dump into Excel, they still reformat it um, and get the financials they need that way.
Question from Steve. What goes into decision to use third-party software like Solver for a client? Is this part of the scoping discovery phase of the BC implementation?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of which tool you need, I think when you're going to look at not so much the tool you have, but the tool you're going to go to. You're going to say, I'm not going to use BC anymore. They're going to sunset it. I want something that Microsoft's going to support. Let's say it's Business Central said, let me see what reporting is out there, what's available, what information
Mhm.
can I get? Does it show me what I need? And if it's pretty much does for the most part, you'll probably live with that, potentially enhance it. If it really doesn't meet your reporting requirements, then you look for something else that does. So there's several different options you can just kind of research and vet and then pick the one that's the right fit for you based on what your needs are.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so what are some important lessons you've learned that GP users should know before switching to Business Central?
One is to not assume that it works like your legacy system. So if that's GP, they're two different systems. They have two different names. They're not gonna work the exact same way. So don't
Mhm.
expect that you'll go in, log
Yes.
in, and know how to use it day one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's certain things that you can customize and take advantage of, but you don't want to overdo it, especially in the beginning, to try and make it work like your legacy system, because it's a different system for a reason. It probably has what you need. You just don't know how to do it yet. So you might want to be a
Yeah.
bit patient and wait until you get a little bit more experience with it and then decide what you need to customize or not. And really just kind of leverage the dimensions that are in Business Central that allow you to really that is kind of one of the benefits is you don't have account segments, you use dimensions instead. So you can just have your GL account is one number and then you can use segments and your accounts can be such a shorter
Yes.
set of data.
Mm-hmm.
I had clients in the past that had project or departments or whatever in their segments in GP, and their chart was so long every time they added one new value because they
Yeah.
had to add like 20 or 30 new accounts to combine it. Whereas here it's
Mm-hmm.
just here's the account and here's the associated dimension, called department, region, project, whatever. And now
Yeah.
their chart's much smaller, the reports are more condensed, and the
Mm.
management of the system is much less because of that.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. Were there any mistakes you made early on that you would warn other users?
Yeah, kind of making the assumption that it was gonna work like GP, especially when I found out that it was based off of nav and not GP. I said, well, okay, that definitely makes more sense that it doesn't work the same.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I would do is say, I'd say trying to maybe research the newer system more rather than just make certain assumptions about how it's going to work, and
Yeah.
say, tell me what it's going to do. Pay more attention when you're doing the UAT or the testing phase and really
Mm-hmm.
test your business processes thoroughly in the new environment. A lot of
Yeah.
people may tend to believe what their partner or reseller tells them, but they should really test it to make sure, one, they prove that it's going to work, and two, that they get familiar with how to do it in the new environment. And then if it doesn't do what they think, they can
Mm-hmm.
bring it to the partner's attention and say, did the system malfunction or did maybe I miss a step somewhere? A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people don't do testing. Um,
Yeah.
they just kind of give what they believe to be a reason as
Mm-hmm.
to why they couldn't do testing, but ultimately that comes back to hurt them when they find out something they need to do in live environment doesn't work the
Mm-hmm.
way they expect.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. You
yeah,
mentioned about you mentioned about partner. So maybe I can
yep.
ask this with Richard as well and Steve. So Chris, how to find a right partner? Yeah.
I find the right partner by making sure that they can address our needs in a pretty timely manner, that
Mm-hmm.
the level of service and the level of knowledge and expertise that we're given is consistent
Mm-hmm.
with what they say, and that there's a good relationship between their team and ours.
Mm, okay.
And I talk to a lot of different companies. I know a lot of different partners, and I met a lot of different partners at conferences in my experience. So I just call people from all different partners and interview them, and then
Mm,
pick the one that I think might be best. And then you can vet them by giving them tasks and see which one works best for you.
okay. So you give the task before you get them?
I give, well, there's people that have our company has agreed to work with in the past, and then
Okay.
they may say, we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. Now, that may or may not be true. So
Yes.
if you determine that that's not true, and suppose you want to find somebody else, you're just going to say, now we're going to give different companies small tasks and
Mm,
see if they can do what they say they can do, and if it works the way they say it's going to say, and how they interact and work with your team. And
yes.
then you will pick the one that seems to be the best fit for you based on that. But yeah.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Chris. How about Richard?
The partner was already chosen before I was brought on board, but it's been a good relationship ever since, getting to know them and their team and work through it. I actually feel a little bit more worried about them when they have to approach some of our stakeholders and some of the demands that they get. But like I said, so far we haven't had to engage a different partner with that. We've been working with the one that they had already selected before I brought on board. But
Oh,
I agree with Chris. The relationships, the partnership, the trust, that's all very important.
okay. Very good. Any addition on that? Maybe Steve is available to answer.
Yeah, not from the BC perspective, but I think just kind of overall, I've been to Power BI stuff and then some CPM. Kind of like with Richard, on one project I was thinking about, I was kind of just brought in and then just kind of dealt with whatever my client, whatever the partner they had. But I definitely agree with both Chris and Richard. I would say from my experience on another project where I did have a chance to kind of work with my client before they brought in a vendor, I always encourage them, like, bring your most challenging thing to the table when you're
Yeah.
evaluating potential partners. Bring your most challenging issue to the table. So, and that really kind of requires the client to really understand their business even more. So, if they can do that, bring that sort of like to the table and say, okay, look, this is what we've got, and this is our biggest issue. How would you solve this for us? Not really expecting, these vendors to give you free advice or free examples, but like, look, this is our biggest issue. It's just in a can. How would you kind of help us figure this out? And then have them walk you through. If they can be more detailed, if they've got the right people at that sales pitch meeting that can sort of explain how they would walk through, that might be the person that you go with. But I've seen clients who've had the presentation from the flashy sales team, and like I think Chris, you mentioned someone was like, "Yeah, we can do that, we can do that, we can do that," and then when they brought them on, it was a completely different thing. The right people weren't at the table from the vendor side, so it's a lot of that kind of vetting thing. So I just always suggest bring your most challenging project or issue to the table, see what their advice is from the top, from that session, and then go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Someone asked me this question. I'm going to ask you too. What do you consider, or when do you consider this is a perfect project? You can start, Chris.
I think when there's a consistent need throughout the organization, where I mean, I've been recently getting a lot of questions about one particular product, like different issues, but they're all surrounding one product. I was like, this is the perfect time to take care of this re-engineering. I have a lot of projects on my plate, and that one moved way up the priority list as I kept getting more and more questions about it. There's a need to help the entire user base.
Mhm.
So I think the urgency of the product, the needs of the company, and how much it impacts the users and the ability to get things done determines which one's the right fit and when.
Okay. Thank you. How about Richard?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think when the users when you get that wow factor, when you deliver something to them and it's actually working and saving them time. I think that's the part that I enjoy, as well as just being able to see that happen and minimize that the disruption of like, oops, we got it wrong. So
Yeah, that's good. And Steve?
I would say when you've got, for me, at least 75 to 80% buy-in from everyone who's involved in the project. When you've got that buy-in from everyone, and to sort of mirror what Chris said, when everybody's kind of aligned, when there's an urgency and everyone knows it, when they're involved in it on a regular basis, like if you hit a speed bump or a blocker, and then the client is like, oh, okay, let's take care of that for you to help you get beyond that so we can keep the train moving. That to me is like an example of like what I consider like the most successful. If we can get them involved at the very beginning and keep their interest and involvement throughout the entire project, things tend to go, really smoothly.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so my follow-up question is, how do you think the role of consultants and IT teams changes when moving to the cloud and pertaining to business central or any project that's moving in the cloud because it's on-prem?
Yeah, so I mean, the IT team's involvement is usually much less because you don't have to worry about servers anymore and a certain amount of maintenance and accessing certain tables, and there's really a less reliance upon them to do things of that sort. There's also, depending on who's doing it, either the person who's administrating Business Central or your cloud-based solution, if they know about the Microsoft Admin Center and they have access to that, they can do it. And then the IT team can just worry about other things that are not systems related. Whereas
Mhm.
before, they'd be the primary resource, and without them, your system would be at a standstill.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Richard, do you have anything to add?
I really don't, because like I said, it's most of our stuff is already in the
Yeah.
cloud. So
Right. How about Steve?
Probably not too much. I think it's just like really like what Chris was saying.
Yeah.
I think the super users, from my experience, like the IT team of the organization, can be a little bit more hands off because a lot of that is taken care of in the cloud. But
Yeah.
I think the end users or the super users who administer the system and the tool for the organization, they become a lot more technical. They also then have to, where things they could just kind of parse off or push off to IT, they now become, I think, a little bit more knowledgeable about systems and
Mhm.
about the back end of it. So they start to learn a little bit more and understand it as opposed to being just sort of like passive users of it. So I think it's kind of a win. It kind of pushes them to learn a little bit more and to be a little bit more invested in the tool. So
Yeah.
I think it's a positive thing.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So, Chris, in your opinion, what's the biggest benefit of Business Central over GP?
Well, I think it's cloud-based, which is consistent with Microsoft's long-term vision. So there's a lot of automatic updates and the maintenance that you would have to typically schedule in the past with, say, your IT team and internal resources. You can say, we're going to do an upgrade on whatever day it is. Everyone has to be out. I need the IT team there. We need to have the servers that have all the right versions of SQL, service packs, all that stuff. None of that's needed anymore. It's just all in the cloud taken care of for you. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good way to go. And they have a lot of good integration with Microsoft 365 and the Power Platform, Outlook, Excel, Teams, etc. So a lot more automation can take place with the
Yes.
Business Central environment than the GP world.
That's right. Yeah, I really like that as well because, whenever you talk to other Business Central users, they're in the same version or not that far. Like in GP, are you in GP 7.5 still? So
Mhm.
it's like so old. Like, that's 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Yeah. Okay. So, what would you say to GP customers who feel unsure or hesitant about moving to BC?
I would just say that they should expect change or expect differences. So kind of be patient and be open to the fact that there's going to be change.
Mhm.
Ask or speak to your partner about what you're looking for, what the new
Yes.
system can do, kind of really plan it out very well with them, sit down and talk to them,
Mhm.
attend all the training sessions, don't skip the UAT or testing phase. A lot of
Mhm.
people undervalue or underestimate the significance of that. And then you could potentially even talk to other people through your network that you may know that have gone through the same migration to a Business Central environment and say,
Uh-huh.
hey, what do you think about the new environment?
Yes.
Is it better? What's different? Give me your feedback. You can do all that
Mhm.
in advance.
Yes, that's right. So, um, how much does it help to have a partner or community to guide you through the transition?
Yeah, I'd say it's critical. I mean, your partner's the one that does this every day, right? So I'm a little bit different. I've been the partner and I've also been the end user. So I can do both. But typically the end users are just not aware of certain things that partners know because they do it every day. There's certain things you just wouldn't
Yes.
think of. So the partner has the experience, they do it every day. Um, the customer can do things on their own as much as they can to an extent, but you really want to rely and work with the partner to make sure you capture everything and you don't miss a step to make sure the migration goes well. And
Mm.
then leveraging a community, like there's all kinds of communities and people out there you can also talk to just kind of see if what you're about to do, if they have any recommendations on how to do it the most efficient way possible.
Yeah, that's right. Um, what resources or tools do you recommend to people who are just starting to look into Business Central?
Yeah. Well, I use this always, the first couple, whether it's going to Business Central or still on GP or any other system I've used. There's forums out there for tools. There's a Microsoft forum
Mhm.
you can use for GP or Business Central. There's Dynamics user groups. There's conferences you can attend.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we went to a conference about a month ago, and I went to try to meet as many different people as I could, as many different companies I could to get
Mm.
questions that I had answered. And now I have a much bigger professional network and a lot of people that have been calling me ever since I got back. Um, and also leverage your professional network. You'll
Mm.
have more resources after something like that. And you can also use tools like LinkedIn, and
That's
then you can
right.
expand your network that way.
Yeah. Uh, so you got a lot of calls and emails from those you met.
I did. I did.
I,
My phone hasn't stopped ringing. Yeah.
I'm one of those who contacted you.
You're allowed. We're always gonna talk. You're different. But yeah, almost I went there to meet a lot of Microsoft partners, which I did. I went there to meet very specific ISVs,
Mm.
which I did. I went there to meet a Microsoft rep, which I did. There was another company. I know we don't talk about companies, but there's a company I was having an issue with their product. I talked to them about it and we sorted that out since they got back. And then I've just met a lot of people at the different functions. So it was really good, a really good trip. It's
Okay.
something that companies shouldn't discount thinking it's a break. My days were 16-hour days for a week. I was exhausted,
No.
but I met a lot of good people and we're much better off for it, and so am I. So it was well worth it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. All
Yeah.
right. So, what's one feature in Business Central you wish more customers would use?
There's the ability to update data using Excel, which I mentioned before. Everybody in accounting loves Excel. Well, you can take data out of Business Central, you can edit it in Excel and bring it right back in, and now you've just updated a large volume of records pretty quickly. So I think
Yeah,
that's a pretty good feature that a lot of people can use. They should obviously do it in Sandbox first, make sure it does what they want, and then do it in production. But
that's right.
it's
Mm-hmm.
something that's using a tool that everybody's very familiar with and very comfortable with.
Okay, I agree. Like edit and publish it. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, if you had if you had to describe your GP to BC journey in one sentence, how would you say it?
I would say it's humbling, educational, and rewarding. It's
Oh,
just you
okay.
learn a lot. You forget being the new person when you use the product for so long. And you learn just how it used to be very quickly when you're going to a new product. So
Oh,
it's very humbling, but you
okay.
learn a lot and you get better off for it. So it's rewarding.
That's so nice. That's right. So what's next for you? Any projects, trends, or anything exciting?
I do. I have a lot of projects. So I'm going to update our AP team needs a lot of vendor master records updated. Not the primary key field, but there's a lot of other records in there that I'm going to update for them using the export to Excel feature that I told you about.
Yes. Uh-huh.
I'm going to reconfigure several of our workflows to gain operational efficiencies. We're going to automate the bank rec process for our team. They have three banks, 50 some odd accounts. They're doing it manually, which I'm like, that was one of the things I went to the conference about. They said you can't directly connect to the bank, and I said, I'm sure you can, and I know you can. And now we're going to do that. I'm going to
Oh.
implement a corporate credit card solution, and then we're going to get a grants management solution. So
Mhm.
those few things I got going on right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Richard, Steve, do you have any question to Chris?
I do have a question. I'm gonna try to formulate it because it's coming from a different area that's not GP or BC, but it's
Mhm.
it's it's from going from a product that was like everyone considered like it was on premise, it was in a server room, it was locked up in a closet, that provided the similar portions to our CRM, and we've just migrated to this in the cloud. And We had a question like, they said that the additional cost of being in the cloud because of subscription, when they were used to the little box that was in the server room that no one ever, they paid for it once and they used it. When you go from GP to BC, have people noticed a difference in cost in maintenance or subscription services, or is it about the same? I'm not sure if I worded that right. It was just something that I didn't think about going from on-premise to cloud where you're now subscription. And before it was like this little product that just did what it was supposed to do, and it just continued on, and people got used to using it, and then we just sort of upgrade to the cloud, and there's that additional subscription cost that they questioned.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of that's kind of one of the things everyone discusses. You could literally get a server. It's like getting a car, and you can keep the same car forever. Like, well, eventually it's not going to work anymore. When you have to upgrade from version 1 to version 2, then you don't do it. Now there's version 3, and you don't do it because you want to stay on the same server and it's still working. Now there's version 10. Well, now your server doesn't handle version 10, but you can't go from 1 to 10 directly. Now you got to do all these other upgrades and more steps, and you're going to spend the money in either additional consulting, additional servers, additional versions of SQL, additional licensing, and so on. If you're trying to go that big of a gap by just saving as much as you can because it's still working. So I think going to the cloud and letting, in our case, Microsoft, but whoever your vendor is, take care of it for you. They have to maintain the servers, they have to buy the servers, they have to store the data, they have to have the staff perform the work. You don't have to do any of it. So your IT team, you don't have to pay overtime or potentially an external firm to do it for you because it's being done automatically. You call them one night, you come in the next day, and it's done.
Perfect. That's I really like that explanation, and that gives me my when I hear that question again, it gives me the right answers. Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you, Richard. Steve, do you have any question for Chris?
Yeah, I guess just kind of one last question, and just from everyone's experience, how do you really handle the change management? Like, for an example, a business process before the implementation from client was, or the company was using a different tool, and they built this elaborate, maybe manual process where they did some magic in Excel, and they exported something from their existing tool, and they put all this together, and then they put their reporting package together monthly. How do how have you been successful in either working with the team during the discovery and scoping process and evaluating those major processes and saying, yeah, we could put something together like that where we do exactly what you had been doing and we try to mimic that in this new tool? Or do you work with them and say, let's re-engineer that entire process to make it a lot more fitting with what you're trying to do? Like, what's been your success in that?
So I would ask, let's just say you're working with your partner and say, I want to go from my legacy system into the tool that you're recommending because obviously we're going to be better off for it or we wouldn't be doing it. So this is one of the processes. You go through all the processes. Some are easy, fine. The ones that you just said that require a lot of effort now, you're like, how would we go about getting this in the new system? It could be it's a standard report because there's functionality that exists now and there's technology that exists now that didn't exist when that whole process was created. So it might be standard or it might be very few steps. And it could be similar or it could be completely different, but they're going to know it better than you. So you can say, this is what I'm doing. We're doing all these steps to get this desired end result. How would we get it? And then you listen to kind of what it is. You do testing during the UAT phase, and then you make sure it's going to produce the results you're looking for with sample data in a test company or sandbox. And then once you're comfortable, it's going to produce what you're looking for, then you can go with the new um, process.
All right, so I don't have any other questions. Chris, do you have any question to me or to Richard?
No, I mean, not so much to
Yeah,
you. I mean, like, we can talk
yeah,
anytime, but
yeah.
for Richard or Steve, I mean, are you thinking of? I mean, I think Richard just moved to a system and he's pretty comfortable with where they are. Sounds like they got a good partner they have a good relationship with. So I don't know. Are you facing any kind of challenges that you don't know how to address, or do you have people to help you make sure that you can kind of overcome them, or even though you're in marketing, are you also the unofficial admin of the new system?
Uh, not really the unofficial admin, but I did get put into this role because I had some technical background. I think my challenge is going to the next year is that we are going to be trying to integrate our Dynamics CRM with the ERP, the BST, and it's not going to be as straightforward as possible because there's a lot of confidential information that's stored in proprietary space that we're going to have to work through with our IT department. But I'm looking forward to that challenge because I mean, in my desire, I wish they would go to something that's more close to what Dynamics Central, like something like GP or something on that process, BC. So it'd be easier that process. But like I said, I always like a challenge, and we've got some good solution providers to help us through that. So
Good. Sounds like you're in good hands. Good luck.
Yes. You have a community. You can ask a lot of questions.
I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Like I said, going to that conference, it's the third one, and every time I come back with so many contacts that help me with challenges, it's been beneficial. So
Yes, that's right. All right. So one last question from me. What do you think about this pilot episode, this customer story, and what are you looking forward in the future? Is it good to have this and your comments?
For me or anyone?
Yeah, for you first,
Um,
Chris. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, no, I think it was good. I mean, I like having community like this. I think it just kind of helps to hear from everybody. You can have, I know you are very well experienced in GP implementations, data migrations, and many different systems, so you know things very well.
Mm,
But I mean, if you have a good mixture of implementation people, end users, ISVs, etc., you can just learn more and more and gain from everybody. So if you do like a topic a month or a session a month, I think it'll be good and it can help you with future guests if you're looking for specific topics depending on what your needs are. Tell me what you
yeah.
need, I'll get it for you.
Yes, awesome. You're the best.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How about you, Richard? Any thoughts?
I know I like this, but I saw this come across LinkedIn, and I was like hesitant. I'm like, this is about GPVC, but then I was like, I'm going to learn something, and it's what I like to do on Fridays is just get caught up on my assignments, and it's been more of a me day, and this was something that gives me some knowledge. So I appreciate this and look forward to more of them.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Richard. Any thoughts, Steve?
Just same thing everybody else said. I love these opportunities. And like I said, me being sort of the greenest person probably in this conversation, it's great being able to find networks like these for people like me who are aspiring to get deep into BC. So, having these kinds of sessions, people who are end users and users who are, in the middle of using it and learning from it, and then having, some partners who've dealt with different projects. I think it's really great having that kind of network.
All right, awesome. All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Chris, Richard, and Steve. Thank you, everyone. This will be posted on YouTube so they can tune in. And thank you, Chris. Your story is very helpful. I'm sure there are other customers or BC users will be inspired about that story. And I look forward, collaborating with you again. Yes.
Me
All
too. Thank you
right.
very much. Take care.
All right. See you next time.
I will. Take care. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.